As the first major conversation between Franny and Zooey comes to a close in Act 3, Zooey has some criticisms for Franny. Number one, he's not anti-prayer, just how she's using the Jesus prayer. Number two, it's where she has her breakdown at home rather than in college. And the problem with having it at home is that it's selfish and it's upsetting their parents. Zooey's third criticism is it's too sweeping. She's committing a logical fallacy. Just because some people are phony at college doesn't mean everyone's phony at college. Of course, there's bad professors. That doesn't mean they're all bad professors. Number four, it's too personal. There was a cliche I used to hear growing up: hate the sin, love the sinner. And I think that's what Zooey is saying. You're making this too personal. You're taking the worst things about a person that you are putting on them, and you're acting like it's their entire personality. And you're making one or two character flaws, the character flaws that you've invented. You've made that their entire person. Number five, you're just too hateful. It's too personal. It's overreaction to the perceived sins committed by them. You act like they've committed murder, and all they've done is tussle up their hair a little bit to look cool before class. So you're overreacting, and you're being too hateful. And then finally, he almost brings it to a close by number 6, saying, you're not really facing facts. You've invented Francis of Assisi / Seymour / Jesus, when in fact you're making your own personal Jesus rather than taking Christ on his own terms, and you submitting your will to the divine rather than making the divine fit all your personal idiosyncrasies. And he says, finally, landing the plane, what you want is a world that doesn't exist. You want a world of dolls and of saints, and I'm sorry, but that's not what you're going to find here. And that sort of closes out the first major part of Act 3. Then he walks away, Zooey walks away as Franny begins crying. He can't get by Bessie in the hallway, and she's off to offer her chicken soup, which will be significant. He goes into his own room and finds himself a cigar and a head covering. A handkerchief he puts on his head, and the cigar he lights. And so those are symbols of Old Testament worship, of a lot of ancient religions worship, where smoke is prayer ascending. You can actually see smoke go from earth to heaven, ascend up. And then the head covering is the sign that you're going into a holy place and that you're not worthy. It's disrespectful to go into a holy place with your head uncovered. And he goes with the handkerchief and the smoke into his brother's room, and he's going to remember his education, his religious education in the room. So first he goes in there and reads all the quotes on the door, reminding him of the things that they taught him and where they learned those things from, the world literature and world religion. Then he goes over to Seymour's desk and he opens a drawer and he finds Seymour's diary written on in a queer way. It sounds like on cardboard shirt boxes. But anyway, it's a diary, and what he reads there is an account of one of the birthday parties and when the family was together, when the family was alive and they were happy. And I think that Zooey is going to remember love and what their childhood was like. And it didn't used to be like this, because this used to be a place of love where they just simply had a good time and accepted everyone as they were. They didn't overthink it. And so he finally goes over to Seymour's phone. And this is a symbol because in her breakdown, Franny has been asked who she wants to talk to. Do we want to call Walker or Waker, the priest? No. Do we want to see a therapist? Heck no, because seeing therapists will end up like it ended up for Seymour. Zooey is trying his best, but it's obviously not working. So who's left? Who could finally get through to Franny? Who would he listen to? Who would she listen to? Well, she says, I want to talk to Seymour. In other words, putting up a hand and saying, I don't need therapy. The only person that I would listen to is someone who is dead. And Buddy was a key educator in her life, and he's not around either. Well, by calling Seymour on the phone, it's a way that sort of mystically that Franny can be talking to all three. She's on Seymour's phone. Zooey is pretending to be Buddy, and Seymour is acting. Zooey is acting, and he's acting like he's Buddy. So in a sense, through the communication of telephone, that's Seymour's telephone, she's talking to Seymour. She's also talking to Seymour's chief student, Zooey, and Zooey is an actor pretending to be Buddy. So really, almost in a 3-in-1 kind of way, Franny for a moment believes that she's talking to all three, or in essence, symbolically, is talking to all three on the phone. And he begins to talk, and she keeps saying that he sounds like he has a cold. In other words, he's not. Even though he's a great actor, you can't fool your own family because there's a family language. And then finally, she complains about Zooey's cigars, and Zooey's answer is to Zooey, and he says, "Well, they're ballast. They're like an anchor keeping a boat in place in a rocky sea. The cigar holds him to this earth, and if he didn't have that, he would just simply fly away." And that's too clever and too Zooey to be Buddy to say something like that on the spot. And so his cleverness is, again, his wooden leg, and he is just too clever for his own good. And now Franny knows exactly who she is talking to. And so then he begins to really break down what he thinks about her. Zooey begins to break down what he thinks Franny's breakdown is all about. We're at the very end of the book now. "It scares me a little bit," Zooey talking to Franny, "but it doesn't petrify me." Let's get that straight. It doesn't petrify me. Because you forget one thing, buddy. When you first felt the urge, the call to say the prayer, you didn't immediately start searching the four corners of the world for a master. You came home. You not only came home, but you went into a damn collapse. So if you look at it in a certain way, by rights you're only entitled to the low-grade spiritual counsel we're able to give you around here and no more. At least you know there won't be any damn ulterior motives in this madhouse. Whatever we are not fishy, buddy. So what he's saying is you came to a place of love. And so you know that the answers are here, not in the philosophy, not in the education, but simply your love and you're accepted here. Then a paragraph later, Zooey continues talking to Franny. "I'll tell you one thing, Franny, one thing I know, and don't get upset. It isn't anything bad. But if it's the religious life you want, you ought to know right now that you're missing out on every single damn religious action that's going on around this house. You don't even have sense enough to drink when someone brings you a cup of consecrated chicken soup." So when Bessie brings you chicken soup, it's sacramental. It's what it literally is, but at the same time, it also pointing to something spiritual. Rather, it becomes something spiritual, and you're on this religious quest, and you're criticizing everyone for not being beautiful, not being real, being phony, being fake, being merely academic for academic's sake. And guess what? You have the sacrament of love, chicken soup, right in front of you, and you don't see it for what it is. So you're the spiritually blind, which is the only kind of chicken soup Bessie ever brings to anybody around this madhouse. So as verbally abusive he is to his mother, he realizes something. When she brings chicken soup, that is a sacrament of love. So just tell me, buddy, even if you went out and searched the whole world for a master, some guru, some holy man to tell you how to say your Jesus prayer properly, what good would it do you? How in hell are you going to recognize a legitimate holy man when you see one, if you don't even know a cup of consecrated chicken soup when it's right in front of your nose? Can you tell me that? And then she said, "I know. Where are you calling from?" So where is he calling from? He's calling from inside her own house already, that place of love. And then the book closes on these 2 pages. "Oh, you irritate me, Franny," says Zooey. "I'm sorry, you do. You've made the greatest startling damn discovery that the acting profession's loaded with mercenaries and butchers. As I remember, you even look like somebody who'd been just shattered because all the ushers hadn't been geniuses. What's the matter with you, buddy? Where are your brains? If you've had a freakish education, at least use it. Use it. You can say the Jesus prayer from now till doomsday. But if you don't realize that the only thing that counts in this religious life is detachment, I don't see how you'll ever even move an inch. detachment, buddy, and only detachment. Desirelessness, cessation from all hankerings. It's this business of desiring, if you want to know the damn truth, that makes an actor in the first place. Why are you making me tell you things you already know? Somewhere along the line, in one damn incarnation or another, if you like, you not only had a hankering to be an actor or an actress, but to be a good one. You're stuck with it now. You can't just walk out on the results of your own hankerings. Cause and effect, buddy. Cause and effect. The only thing you can do now, the only religious thing you can do is act. Act for God if you want to. Be God's actress if you want to. What could be prettier? So I see that you're after beauty. What could be more beautiful than to do the thing that you were created to do? Maybe you believe in reincarnation, maybe you don't. Maybe it comes from a past life. Maybe God created you in Christ Jesus for good works. Whatever belief you have, you know that you're put on this earth to do something, and that is to act. So don't worry about other people being geniuses or not. Don't worry about the audience or not. That's how the book will close. Worry about you. Who are you? You are an actress, so act. What could be prettier? In a book replete with the theme of beauty. Remember Lane emptying his face and not showing the beauty of his love for Franny. Remember Franny's complaint to Lane about her college professors who are poets. They're published, but they're not poets. Why? Because they don't leave something beautiful on the page. Remember Buddy's letter to Zooey in the tub. When have you seen not a competent, not a courageous, not a well-done version of Chekhov's Cherry Orchard? When have you seen a beautiful version? And are you going to be okay with that, acting in something that's not beautiful? And on this theme of beauty. And now Zooey says to Franny on the phone, no longer acting, no longer pretending to be Buddy, on Seymour's phone, and he says, what could be prettier than you fulfilling your destiny? Yes, acting does go against religion. If religion is all about cessation from desire, desirelessness, then yes, acting starts from the exact opposite place. It's all about desire. But if you do it for the right reasons, even if you want to do it for the glory of God, what could be prettier than that? So don't worry about the other actors. Don't worry about the writers. Don't worry about the ushers. Don't worry about your professors. Worry about you. And if you fulfill your destiny and see love when it's staring in your face in the form of chicken soup, in the form of a diary written on a shirt box, what could be prettier than that? Now, the only other concern is your audience. I don't care where an actor acts. It can be in summer stock, it can be over a radio, it can be over television. It can be in a damn Broadway theater, complete with the most fashionable, well-fed, sunburned-looking audience you can imagine. But I'll tell you a terrible secret. Are you listening to me? There isn't anyone out there who isn't Seymour's fat lady. That includes your Professor Tupper buddy. All his damn cousins by the dozen. There isn't anywhere that isn't Seymour's. There isn't anyone anywhere that isn't Seymour's fat lady. Don't you know that? Don't you know that damn secret yet? And don't you know, listen to me now, don't you know who that fat lady is? Ah, buddy, it's Christ himself. Christ himself, buddy. So you see how he's putting a religious spin on every aspect of acting. As far as herself, be beautiful, take that responsibility on yourself and do the thing that you were born to do. Other people, don't worry about them. And the audience, remember who the audience is made of. Creatures made in the image of likeness in God. And therefore, because they're made in the image of God, because they reflect the beauty of God, then they are like Christ, who images God perfectly. And as such, it doesn't matter if they're fat, ignorant, hillbilly, sunburned, uneducated, they don't even get the point of the play. Guess what? They have a dignity and a destiny on account of being made in the image of God. And what could be prettier than that? You doing the divine thing in you. You doing the thing you were created to do. You not worried about how other people do their business. And the audience, you're acting for images of God. People who reflect Christ himself, and that is Seymour's fat lady. And of course, the fatter someone is, the more human it is. And so don't look for these ethereal, overly religious people. Just that the fat of a ignorant hillbilly is the same as the chicken soup. It's love right there before your eyes, and do it for that love and beauty. Then she hangs up the phone, and in the time before cell phones, when you would hang up a phone, you would hear dial tone. She appeared to find it extraordinary, the dial tone. Beautiful to listen to, rather as if it were the best possible substitute for the primordial silence itself. But she seemed to know, too, when to stop listening to it, as if all of what little or much wisdom there is in the world were suddenly hers. So when she remembers that it's about humility and love and beauty, and not to worry about other people, but to worry about herself and to dignify her audience that she's acting for. So what she is doing is holy, and who she is doing it for is holy, and love surrounds her. That's why she came home. That's why there's chicken soup. That's why the audience is overweight, because there's so much love in humanity. What could be prettier than to see what you're doing is divine? You're doing it for the glory of God. If that is why you do it, then it is religious, then it is beautiful, and your audience is beautiful too. And with those words, the phone hangs up, and she hears a dial tone, and she can't stop listening, and it's beautiful. Why? Well, we look back at the Tub letter that Buddy says that he and Seymour wanted to teach the two youngest, Franny and Zooey. Much, much more important, though, Seymour had already begun to believe, and I agreed with him as far as I was able to see the point, that education by any name would smell as sweet, and maybe much sweeter, if it didn't begin with a quest for knowledge at all. But here's the point of education. But with a quest, as Zen would put it, for no knowledge. Dr. Suzuki says somewhere that to be in a state of pure consciousness, Satori, is to be with God before he said, "Let there be light." The hum, the golden hum of the universe. And so if the goal of education is to hear the dial tone, but not just a dial tone for all of eternity, Franny now knows the secret to hearing the hum, to be truly enlightened, to be truly zen, to be truly at peace. And now she finds her Sabbath rest and can now sleep peacefully. Why? Because she's heard the hum, and she knows what it's like to be with God before he said, "Let there be light." In other words, what is God about to do when he says, "Let there be light"? He's going to look in the darkness and chaos and primordial stew, and what's he going to do? He's going to pronounce with his words, "Let there be light." And so God looks into the darkness and death, and he speaks life and light. And when you fulfill your destiny, you're a part of that. And when you see your crowd as reflectors and refractors of the glory of God, as Christ himself, then you can go to bed every night peacefully, and you're not worried anymore about who's a phony, and you take your consecrated, sacramental chicken soup for what it is, as love itself.